The vast hall of the concourse was silent, a monument to alien grandeur filled with representatives from 100 star-faring species. At its center, upon a dais of living crystal, sat the last queen of the Vises. Her form was elegant, her chitin the color of deep space dusted with nebular gold, and her multifaceted eyes held the weight of a dying civilization. The air thrummed with the psychic echo of her proclamation, a dire plea woven into a formal decree. "My line ends with me," her voice, like the chime of silver bells, echoed in every mind. "Our species requires a consort to trigger the final genetic renewal. The royal pheromones are complex, keyed to a bravery not of muscle, but of spirit. Who among the gathered will volunteer to marry me?" A wave of unease rippled through the assembly. The Vises were revered, but their biology was poorly understood. The consort ritual was a mystery, and the risks were legendary. More than that, the act was considered by many to be a profound transgression, a crossing of lines best left uncrossed. The Galactics saw it not as a union, but as a violation of natural order. The insectoid Kavix delegates clicked their mandibles in a polite refusal. The amphibious Nello from their water worlds shimmered with anxious colors, declining. The stout mineral-based Grum from the core worlds offered a solemn, rumbling negative. One by one, the empires and federations, allies and trading partners of the Vises, offered their regrets, their condolences, their stacks of data explaining biological incompatibility. They honored the Queen, but they would not, could not, answer her call. The silence after the final refusal was absolute, a crushing weight of galactic diplomacy. The Queen's antennae, held high with regal hope, slowly dipped. Her species would fade into history, not with a bang, but with a lonely sigh in a crowded room. Then, a chair scraped back in the human delegation section, a small group near the rear. A man stood up. He was not particularly tall by human standards, his frame lean in his simple gray envoy suit. His face was unremarkable, etched with the lines of a man who had spent years under alien suns. He cleared his throat, the sound shockingly raw in the psychic quiet. "I will," he said, 1,000 alien eyes, both physical and sensory, fixed upon him. The air filled with a susurrus of clicks, hums, and translated whispers. The human delegation leader, a woman with a stern face, grabbed his arm. "What are you doing?" "The briefing materials clearly state this is considered a profound taboo. It's biological madness. Stand down." The man gently removed her hand. "They're all saying no. She's alone up there." He began the long walk down the central aisle, his footsteps echoing on the iridescent floor. The Queen straightened, her faceted eyes tracking his approach. To the others, he looked like a man walking toward a biological maelstrom. He simply looked like a man keeping an appointment. He reached the dais and looked up at her. "My name is Leo," he said, speaking aloud for the record, his voice steady. "You understand what is asked?" The Queen's mental voice was a whisper in his skull, tinged with wonder and caution. "I understand you need someone to say yes," Leo replied. "I don't understand the rest. But I'm here." The ceremony was not in a temple, but in the Queen's private biochambers, under the scrutiny of Vise's scientists and a single horrified human observer. The air was thick with a scent like ozone and old roses. The process was not a simple contract. It involved the Queen introducing a complex cocktail of pheromones keyed to her unique genetic signature. In any other species, the psychological and physiological reaction was, as the briefings had stated, catastrophic. It was said to overwhelm the senses, to shatter the identity, to reduce a mind to a state of primal terror. Leo stood before her as she approached, her delicate limbs moving with a soft clicking sound. She extended a fine, chitinous hand, and a faint, gold-tinged dust seemed to emanate from her pores. The bonding mist she intoned mentally. It will seek your courage. If it finds fear, it will reject you violently. I'm scared right now, Leo admitted aloud, a small smile on his lips. But I'm still here. The mist enveloped him. The Galactic's monitoring from behind bioshields waited for the scream, for the collapse, for the proof of human fragility. It did not come. Leo breathed in. His eyes widened, not in horror, but in astonishment. He saw not a monster, but the profound loneliness in her eyes, felt the heavy burden of her crown, the gentle, desperate hope beneath her regal exterior. The pheromones did not attack his identity. They conversed with it. They found a human psyche, a strange, resilient thing not built on rigid instinct or pure logic, but on a foundation of paradoxes. A psyche that could hold fear and courage in the same moment, that could see the alien and still offer a hand. The mist, designed to test unshakable bravery, found instead an adaptable, stubborn kindness. It did not violate him. It was confused by him. And then it accepted him. A soft, golden luminescence settled on Leo's skin and faded. The queen staggered back a step, her chime-like voice audible to all. It is done. The bond is formed. It is. Stable. The Vise's scientists erupted in a chorus of resonant clicks, a sound of pure, incredulous joy. The galaxy was not joyful. News spread like a shockwave. The human had done the unthinkable. He had undergone the ritual and survived. Worse, he seemed unchanged. He walked beside the queen, speaking with her, a living affront to galactic propriety. On news feeds and diplomatic channels, pundits and xenopsychologists declared it a fluke, a dangerous corruption. The act was called the Great Transgression. Leo was labeled an aberration. Leo paid no mind. In the following weeks, he learned his role. He was not a king, but a consort. His duty was his presence. He shared meals of synthesized nectar and terrestrial bread. He listened to the history of the Vises, an epic of hive worlds and deep space migrations. He told her of Earth, of oceans and mountains, and the human habit of hoping against hope. He asked questions, so many questions, and his questions made her think in ways a queen never had to. One evening, in her garden of crystalline fungi, she asked him directly, "Why did you answer? You did not know you would survive. Your own people advised against it. All others refused." Leo watched a floating spore drift lazily through the air. Everyone saw a biological trap, a royal function, a doomed queen. I just saw a person being refused help in front of the entire universe. We have a saying on Earth, walk a mile in another's shoes. I couldn't walk a mile in your appendages. But I could take one step forward when everyone else stepped back. The queen was silent for a long time. Your step has saved my people. The genetic renewal has begun. New eggs are viable. But you have given more than your biology. You have given me a friend. The grumbling in the galaxy reached a crescendo when the first new Vises larvae were hatched, healthy and vibrant. The human consort's DNA was a part of them now, a tiny, resilient thread woven into the tapestry of an ancient race. A delegation from the stern Galactic Council arrived, demanding an audience. In the same great hall, the counselor, a being of shimmering light, addressed the queen. This union is an abomination. It dilutes a noble lineage. The human is an invasive element. For the purity of galactic life, the bond must be annulled. The hybrid offspring must be sequestered. The queen rose, her aura radiating a power that made the very light in the room dim. But before she could speak, Leo stepped forward. He had learned some of the Tice's psychic projection, a simple trick. He sent his voice, calm and firm, into the minds of all present. You call it an abomination. Leo said, looking at the shimmering counselor. You call it a transgression. You use big words to hide a small heart. You were afraid. You all were. Afraid of what you don't understand. Afraid of something new. So you called it wrong, and you hid behind tradition. He gestured to the queen, then to himself. This isn't a violation. It's a conversation. And it's a conversation that has given life, where there was only an end. The counselor pulsed with angry light. You dare? I do dare, Leo interrupted, his human voice now filling the silent hall. You asked for bravery, and you defined it as a lack of fear. But that's not bravery. That's just being too simple to see the risk. Real bravery is seeing the risk, seeing the fear in everyone else's eyes, and choosing to be kind anyway. That's all I did. I chose kindness over fear. And if that's what you call an abomination, then maybe your galaxy needs a few more abominations. The silence was absolute. The counselor had no rebuttal. The words, so simple, so human, bypassed layers of diplomatic logic. They could not argue against kindness. It was not in their procedural manuals. The delegation left, their demands unmet. The story, however, changed. It was no longer told as the story of the great transgression. It became the story of the single step, the human who saw a person, not a puzzle. The bravery that was not a shield, but an open hand. Years later, the queen stood with Leo on a balcony, overlooking a thriving new Thyses nursery. The air was filled with the healthy hum of young life. She looked at him, her consort, her friend, the man who had answered when the universe said no. They still do not fully understand what you did. She chimed softly. Leo took her delicate, chitinous hand in his. It was no longer strange to him. It was simply hers. That's all right, he said. We do. Below them, their children a blend of Thyses and something new, something hopeful played in the light of an alien sun, a living testament to the